Good afternoon. I mean, it is almost 5 p.m. here in Florida. This is Jody Shirami. This is Redford. Wow, it is already July 10th. Welcome to my podcast, my weekly podcast on YouTube at Jody Boots 22. It is a major heat wave affecting most of the country or most of the world as well. It is bringing rain though for Florida, so it's kind of nice that way that we can kind of depend on our monsoon season to occur, and we're going to get our rain for our plants. And Redford here is getting ready to get his shave because it is so hot. His hair grew so fast. Little healthy baby boy, a year old now. Let's get this week started. Today on the 10th, Taurus Moon is void, meaning it has no aspects. And it's floating alone, having a little me time, and it's going to shift into Gemini later on after midnight, and then square immediately Virgo Venus in Virgo, and the South Node in Virgo. And this is going to bring up some very different energy for the collective consciousness to accept all the facets of the human condition, of the human personality, how the human acts. And Virgo again is the critic, so here we're trying to release criticizing ourselves, which is very difficult, especially during these times. And then on the 11th, tomorrow, Gemini Moon is going to conjunct Mars. And then sextile Aries Saturn and Aries. And this energy is going to build up, and it's going to need releasing. Or else anger could permeate this area of our life, wherever the houses are for you. And collectively you can see that this could pinpoint a lot of the frustrations going on in the world right now in terms of equality. And so this could feel like Saturn is restricting you, and tempers could flare when you're told what to do. No one wants to be told what to do, and that could happen here. And then on the 12th, the Gemini Moon is going to be void again, and the retrograde Mercury is going to meet up with the Sun and go cazimi behind the Sun where we can't see it from Earth. And then it's going to immediately ingress into Cancer, preparing for its cazimi as a new moon. So basically the moon's getting ready for its cazimi, meaning the new moon on the 14th. And so the new Cancer moon is going to arrive the very next day. And this could be preparing us for some very surprising activities that could go on, because again, Neptune in Aries is just turned retrograde, so this has been slowly dissipating its ability to fog up what we're thinking, what we're seeing. So the veil is starting to be lifted right here, so this could really bring up some angst for us, this configuration. So the moon is really doing its job in July here during its season. And then on the 13th, Virgo Venus is going to square Gemini Uranus, which is increasing our attractions to taboo desires, And she's also going to quincunx Aries Neptune and Aquarius Pluto. So this is the beginning of the barbell basket that will perfect next week on the 20th. This energy strokes the firestorm of the yod configuration, where the bottom of the yod is pointing its energy towards Venus, and Venus here must face reality, especially in Virgo. It's going to be nitpicky here. And then the new moon arrives 14th at 21 degrees and 59 seconds, which is basically 22 degrees of Cancer. And this is the beginning of a new lunar cycle in the lunar family of cycles, with a focus, really a lot of focus on the home, the family, your private life, how you nourish, and your emotional security. As a new moon, this Cancer new moon initiates a 6 to 12 month process with the results that usually developed gradually over a year. Just like your emotions need time to sit there and really get into the nitty gritty of what it's feeling. The moon does this, and that's what all the moon nodes and all the moon's actions are about, is allowing your consciousness to awaken to your subconscious. And these developments are usually tied to care, protection, memory, belonging, and the need to create a more stable foundation of your home. Cancer rules over the home, and that's where you go for sure security. And so this is a cardinal water transit. And again, cardinal signs are the initiator of the season. And here we're initiating, Cancer season is initiating summertime. So it continues, and it's a very sensitive initiation. This cardinal energy begins action through water energy, which is responding to feelings, instincts, and lived experiences, which is also known as wisdom. Together, all this comes together, and it's going to really support our daily life, which is the 6th house. It's going to support our daily life, our daily work, our daily needs, our consistency, our commitment, and this can include your housing, your family changing, your caregiving responsibilities, your food routines, how you eat, health habits, and emotional boundaries, because Cancer's is protective energy. They don't like to share anything that has to do with their home or their families unless you're part of them. Because the moon is at 21 to 59 degrees, this is a very late degree of the Cancer new moon, which gives the transit a more complete and developed expression of the Cancerian themes. Because here we're dealing with Cancer, Neptune, Decan, and so the Cancer and Neptune are highly compatible because Jupiter rules over Neptune, and Jupiter's exalted in Cancer, which just moved into Leo. So the emphasis isn't just on sentiment when this is happening at this last degree. It is a stewardship. This transit actually wants you to sustain your long-term well-being in practical terms that can help your housing, help your home, help your people, help your family to reorganize and shift and change and see how things work, and really supporting that family dynamic that you wish to have. And you can always tweak things you learned from your parents, which is what you should do. And you also, through Cancer, you need to learn how to rest and have nourishment and continual emotional stability. So this transit, this new moon, is really highlighting the misuse of care between these Cancer, Capricorn nurturance, and how they become distorted, and when and why, and how they try to use it to control you through mind games, the way they advertise and teach, and the way certain themes are continued to go on, and the tone of the communication is also changes to support this emotional manipulation, right? So with Jupiter and Cancer recently, there was an influx of Cancerian energy, and with Mercury retrograde here, there's been an influx of the way Cancerians speak in the home, because they're private people. In public, they're sweet and all of that, but if they're Cancer moon or a Cancer sun, the things they do can be more hidden in the home, and that's where we can get into this whole abuse of the mom and dad dynamic, polarity, and how if there's an imbalance, these things can show up in kind of odd ways, and so, and when you're put into a role, especially in the conservative type of roles where it's a male-female situation type of role, and you can run into a bunch of historically clinical examples often of how when these power dynamics are abused and not balanced, that you can get into the context of the Munchausen syndrome, which the Munchausen syndrome. And I learned about this watching The Sixth Sense. I never knew this really existed, where one of the characters had a fictitious disorder that was imposed on herself as a mother. And we've seen this in real time with one of the cases that made a big documentary about it. And I think the young lady is now out of jail and has her own reality TV show. And you can see in real time what they portrayed in The Sixth Sense, that when a mom has a baby, that's when the hormones in your body are so out of balance, because you're having another human being in your body at this time. And then when that body is released, all this energy and hormonal chemicals are trying to realign. And part of that realignment is the natural processes that your body must go through, which is nursing. And when you nurse, when the baby latches on, that triggers something in your body to produce more milk for that baby, for your baby or a baby. A woman can introduce a baby to her breasts, and she can become a nursing mother for that baby, because your breast will naturally make milk for the baby. That's how amazing the female human body is. And I'm sure it's for animals as well. So the imbalance of the Cancer Capricorn is what causes this Munchausen disease, and where the mother has this problem and it's not diagnosed. Back then, people didn't really know what was going on with that, and they didn't listen to the nurses, the midwives that were capable of understanding it. And so that again goes back to the misogyny and the oligarchy. And so that is when the Cancer Capricorn balances off, and the mother reacts in a way that is psychosis and psychosis initiated, and that really brings in the whole imbalance of nurturing your child, who is supposed to be someone that you both love and care for, and are going to share in the duties of taking care of this child. So we're dealing with a situation where there is an imbalance in the human capability of nurturing a human child to life, to a good life, on their own, without help. And there's a lack of understanding of the need for child care, from the mother especially. I'm not a communist or anything like that, but I do believe, like driving a car, you have to have a driver's license, and I believe that in order to have a child, you should have this license, because that child could go on to commit murder of the masses that we've seen occur with school shootings, mostly done by males. So that is a huge problem. And in 2027, the nodes will shift into Capricorn and Cancer, and then we will be dissecting that on a mundane level and on a personal level. We have to look at ourselves as well. So the caregiving and medical systems that reflect these gendered power imbalances, are still in existence today. And so this is one of the biggest reasons that we're here at this time, and we're feeling this need for change, is because of the outer planets shifting into these situations, like Regulus moving out of Leo and entering Virgo at 0 degrees of Virgo in 2011. And it takes Regulus, the fixed star, that is the star with the sun, is one of the slowest moving stars there is. It takes 72 years for it to move 1 degree. So 1967, that was the year I was born, is when Regulus was at 29 degrees and had entered 28, nearing 29 degrees, and these are anaretic degrees. So there's a lot of people on the Regulus star, and that would make a lot of sense for the imbalance in the world right now of me. And it was in there, Regulus in Leo, for 2,100 years, I believe. So it's a long transit that has enabled a lot of the delusion that's been going on with religion, because it's based on one person, Jesus, and what he is about, and then you idolize him, and then people take his words and twist it around, and here we are, right? And so that's what we're really trying to talk about with Uranus and Gemini, is that our communication must be up-leveled. We must have a better way of communicating, and it seems like in what you write and say into a text box can be reviewed and be in there forever, and whatever it is you're saying or doing. So it seems to be heading towards a police type of state where what you say, what you do, your First Amendment rights no longer exist. If you're just talking to your friends, I'm not saying if you have a manifesto to hurt people, a terrorist, then you can't really be doing that, because it's going to make you go crazy over time, and then you will be a threat to yourself and to society, right? So really, the family restructuring is the beginning, as all things are, because without the baby, there is no family. What comes first? It has to be the family. The mother and the father have to come together of opposite sex to create a baby, because you need sperm and an egg, and all creatures on Earth repopulate through sexual activity in some way. And a lot of the sexual energy and vibes that have been given off over these past thousands of years is really a tool to keep humans in control, to control humans. They've been using these lies about sexual energy for a very long time, and pretty soon there's going to be a documentary coming out called Second Nature about how animals are bisexual, and they look for love and attention when they need it, and they're not looking to see if you're a boy or a girl, male or female. They just they just need love at the time. And there's no one saying, oh, you're gross, you're nasty, you shouldn't be. No one's saying that to them, because everyone does it. And then some animals mate for life, and so then you have that as well. So if you can just understand that and let the world understand that you're just different in other ways, we could really learn to just exist as who we want to be, and the world could be a lot more peaceful. Also, the Aries Neptune sextile to Aquarius Pluto lasts for 10 more years, and it won't return roughly for 5 more years, according to Steve Judd. And this is important because Neptune in Aries is leading the core human identity from I am to ... So we're going to start to see ourselves in a different way, where if we're not as valuable or have as much money as others, it doesn't make us less than. And so that's kind of a big deal to think about that. And then on June 16th, not much happening. Then on the 17th, Gemini Uranus trines Aquarius Pluto. and that begins the Barbo basket at around 4 degrees. They're both very close. And then on the 20th, Barbo's basket perfects. So we end on the 17th, next Friday, and a couple of things happen there that is nice because it's the beginning of that Barbo configuration coming together, which is going to occur 3 days later. So next Friday we'll talk more about that. And also, the new moon is the big talk this week, and Venus shifting into Virgo really is a huge, huge deal during this very, very volatile cosmic energy time because of the Barbo basket coming, and because it's meeting up with the south node of releasing. And in Virgo, we want to release the way we produce food, because this is an earth sign, and the symbol of Virgo is Ceres, the goddess of the harvest. And Virgo is a unique sign. It is the 6th sign and is represented by the house of work, which is the harvest. You work hard, you get your harvest. And it's opposite of Pisces, where the north node is. So we're leaning from the earth and learning about nature and how to, that she gives us food and how to sustain ourselves through our bodies and take care of ourselves through exercising. So back then you're a farmer, you're exercising every day, and so you're strong. But now that isn't occurring as much. So we're trying to eat better, have better nutrition. So there's going to be a release here of a lot of food products that are legal in America, but not legal in Europe, let's say. Legal in Asia as well, and it shouldn't be legal anywhere. Some of these food products that are killing and causing cancer. But is that what the powers that be want? Because you don't have as many people to feed and care for, you keep your money to yourself, right? But if you look at the societies that have been around for a long time, they take care of each other. The chiefs take care of each other. They elect a leader, like Saudi Arabia, the way they do it. You know, and America emulates those legacies of our ancestors. And so when what we know to be true, or how it's always been in America, when it starts to get challenged to the point of where it could become permanent if things perfect the way the ruling party now in America wants it to go. So we have a lot of changes to come, but it shouldn't make you tired. It should make you excited. And if you need a break, take a break. You know, do what you gotta do. This summer, it's time for vacationing. I know I'm taking a break every chance I get. And so if you can understand it's a long term situation, especially with Cancer and Capricorn involved. We're talking about the moon, who moves around the quickest around the earth, just right. And then we're talking about Saturn, an outer planet, takes 3 years to move around from one sign to the next, taking about 36 to 40 years to go around. When you think about that, you can see that for you to get Saturn back to your sign, it takes 30 years. So you understand that from point A to where it comes back to here to the end, it takes 30 years. So when you see the Cancer Saturn axis, just look at families, look at legacies. This is their job, to maintain legacy through love, nurturing, consistency, and should be unconditional love as well. But nowadays it's based upon your grades, if you're good looking, you know, you listen to your parents and you follow all their rules, you inherit their money. So there's all kinds of things going on now that has nothing to do with true parental guidance and love. So we want to get back to that. And so That's what mostly this week is going to be about, is this Cancer new moon and how we are preparing for the following week on the 20th as the sun prepares to shift into Leo. And Jupiter, one of the main players, is at 4 degrees, but it will not be part of the Marble basket coming up in 2 years from now. And then 2 years from now, it will be comets and asteroids. So that's where we're at. So I'll talk to you guys next week, and don't forget to hit me up on Patreon, and if you subscribe for a month for $3, buy me coffee, I will send you a moon reading for free to your mailbox. And also you can cancel anytime you want, and you can continue to watch me for free as a member of Patreon. And also you can always catch these weeklies on YouTube at JodiBoots22. I put my information out. If you're not a subscriber, thank you for my new subscribers. I appreciate you very, very much. And if you're not a subscriber to YouTube, I put my information up to let you know when these videos come out for sure on astropod_cast on my Instagram page. And then my weeklies I always put on my Instagram page, but also on my Twitter page, which is at JodiBoots. And check me out, come follow me, I'd love it. If you want to have a conversation. Redford, my puppy, also has his own page, Redford0623, and he's only on Instagram right now. And I might just keep him there. All right, I love you guys. I appreciate you, and really take it easy. Mercury is still retrograde, and it's going to have a cazimi as it retrogrades behind the sun a day or two before the moon cazimi's behind the sun. And cazimi is when a planet gets re-energized, rebooted, so that it is renewed, just like the new moon does for us, does the same for these planets. So Mercury being retrograde, drawing a new moon behind the sun at these anaretic degrees, is really pushing for radical new ways to communicate, to travel, transportation, to also how we send food back and forth to each other, again, which is transportation, but it has to do with food. Everything has to do with food right now, especially in Cancer season, because Cancer is part of the nurturing of people. So, and then the moon is going to be cazimi as well behind the sun during this new moon. And the reason it's a big deal is because, again, the perfection of the basket coming up and how the moon is leading the way towards that, like it always does usually for eclipses, for everything, because it is the rock that spins around our rock. I think it's a rock. So, okay, that's it. I love you guys. Take care of yourself and be free, be happy. Talk to you guys soon.